At 7 o'clock, welcome to tonight's special town council meeting, July 31st, 2017. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is public comments. Please be aware, as Mr. Bear had indicated, we're only speaking to items that are on the agenda tonight. Mr. Bear, do we have a list?
Yes. Sean Evans, please.
Hello, my name is Sean Emmons, 14 Norton Lane. I own Emmons Tree Service in town. Tonight, I asked the mayor to put a special item on the agenda. I'm a portable public speaker, so bear with me here. I'm going to be donating a tree to the town. This tree isn't just any tree. It's not just, hey, we cut some trees down, we're going to donate a tree. This tree is kind of special, and I took the process of asking the family first and then going through the proper steps with the Parks Department. The tree is going to be in honor of Mr. Harry Taylor. Mr. Harry Taylor passed away recently this year. Kind of was a little drawn back that the town didn't step up and do anything for him. He's a really big staple in this community, and he's helped me out tremendously by taking me back and giving me advice, and I'm sure he's helped other people in this town too that way. So tonight I ask you to approve that. I'm going to try to plant a white oak tree on the green. The reason I'm doing this is there's a couple reasons. One, it's our state tree. It's a good tree for Mr. Taylor. Second of all, you guys are losing maple trees left and right on the green. You are going to lose 6 more this year. That's just on the green. You're going to lose probably another 4 on the side of the green. I've been talking to Carlos. We've tried to save them a couple times. We've injected them with kelp, which the elm trees responded great to, but the maple trees did not. You guys have a low magnesium problem on the green. We're going to try to fix that as best we can. Well, somebody's going to try to fix that as best they can. But also on top of it, you guys have verticulum wilt. Verticulum wilt is a fungus disease, and it attacks maple trees. So the more maples we put in there, the more are going to die. It's just going to be a revolving door down on the green. So I recommended to the Parks Department that we're going to plant a white oak for them. First thing that popped up was the acorns. Of course, that is a problem. Problem with the mowers hitting them, shooting them out in the cars, kids throwing them, vice versa. We do have a red oak tree out in front of Town Hall, which is great. But the white oak would be nice on the green, especially with some of the big ones that are going to be coming down. With that being said, I will take full responsibility in this tree. So down the road, when this tree produces acorns, I'm more than happy to come down and inject the tree so it doesn't produce acorns. That can be done. I'll go on that further, but try to keep that quiet for the public hears. So for Mr. Taylor, I would like you guys to not just accept this tree as a regular tree that's a donation tree. I just want you guys to accept it as a tree for Mr. Taylor. All right?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl Dunham, please.
Excuse me, I just wanted to make a comment. I think it would be appropriate if the town would place a marker signifying that tree being designated to Harry Taylor.
Sure.
So people know that when they walk down the street that, and he was a significant part of our community for a long, long time.
We could work with Parks and Rec for that. Very good.
Thanks, Frank.
I think it's a great idea that Sean's doing. A nice white oak tree is a beautiful tree, and I think it's wonderful to commemorate Mr. Taylor. So Sean does a lot of things for town, and I think this is another good one. My curiosity was about this bond liability, and I see where you're going to be discussing it, but I've never heard anything about it, and I was just kind of curious as how it rose almost 9 years ago. Are you going to discuss that aspect of it? Okay, good.
After executive session, yeah.
After, you're going to have open session first. You're going to have it on...
No, first it's executive session,
Oh,
and then
I got
open
you.
session.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're good, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bear. Moving on to items 3, that was Mr. Emmons' item. Entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the request to a donation from Emmons Tree and Landscaping Services LLC of a white oak tree to be planted on the town green in replacement of a tree that had to be removed.
Okay. This is a great memorial. It's a great thing to do in memory of Mr. Taylor. We'll talk to Parks and Rec about getting a plaque. Mr. Bear.
I was just going to say, with the understanding
Yeah.
for those.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mr. Esposito.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment and say planted on the town green in replacement of a tree in honor of Harry Taylor.
Well, we are saying
Well,
that,
if
yeah.
it's in the minutes,
Put in the minutes.
then it'll be in perpetuity here as being recognized by the town council. I think that is the most fair
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
we can do for a pillar of this community to pass away.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, add the in honor of Mr. Taylor. I think that's what everybody kind of expected it to say anyway.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Evans, and the town does appreciate what you're doing for it as well. That's a great thing. Thank you. Item 4A, entertain a motion to go into executive session.
And also, we'd like to add that we're inviting in Joe Fozzie and John Tower.
Yes, anybody else that we need to invite in? No, I think that's good enough. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You actually moved it second in the
There was a so moved.
So moved, seconded by Scott.
Okay. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in open session. Okay, there are, what is it, no motions? No motions, no votes. Just to give a little, a very quick overview, there was in 2010, bonds were issued for the ambulance facility. After that fact, though, when the ambulance facility began, not only getting the benefit of that facility, but also paying for it, technically it took it out of a municipal bond realm and made it into what's called a 501c3 bonds. And from the technical point of view, the town couldn't accept those funds without formally designating them as that specific type of bond. So we've discovered that issue now. We're going to go back to the IRS and inform them of it, and hopefully get approval to refund those bonds and issue them as 501c3 bonds so that everything is on the same page and the way that it should be within the technical rules of the IRS. Otherwise, it could be considered income that's not exempt or taxable income, and we want to try to avoid that possibility. Fair enough? Yes, Mr. Chamberlain.
And just to make the point that one of the reasons we know this is because we were looking into restructuring this debt, which would be in net savings to the town.
Right. So hopefully, yeah, that's one of the things too. Once we refinance the debt, also, we're anticipating a $200,000 savings at that time. Obviously, that changes with the market, but that's the anticipation right now. So hopefully, by doing this and getting it satisfied and set straight, we ultimately wind up saving money for the town at the end of the day. Fair enough. Do we need a motion, or I think Mr. Fozzie's going to take the action that we discussed. Fair enough. Anything else, John? We're good.
Mayor, you're going to address the supplemental appropriation that's on the.
Right.
Ah,
we
yes.
discussed that.
So as far as open,
Okay.
so item C, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for discussion and possible action on the request for a supplemental appropriation from the undesignated fund balance or such account as the finance director deems appropriate to the legal expense account, other account number 1041390053101, in the amount of $20,000 to cover the cost of the bond attorney to address the potential IRS liability associated with bonds issued in 2008.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5. Do we have the time? Thank you, Attorney Fozzie. I'll entertain a motion to change the order. We'll move up the fees since we have a bunch of people here to speak towards that. Item 7.
So moved.
John, any issue with changing the order in the special meeting?
As long as there's I don't think there's any problem, as long as you.
We're not adding anything.
As long as you move to, basically amend the rules to allow it.
Okay, so I'm entertain a motion to amend the rules to,
So moved.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
We're moving five though. just-
We're moving, we'll move 7, right, so before 5, and then after that, we'll kind of,
Go back there.
yeah, we'll go back to it. So I don't think anybody else is here for that. Okay,
So, motion for discussion and possible action on the recommendation of the fee committee and department heads to accept the updated town and New Milford schedule of fees.
a second.
Second.
Okay, so this is continuation of discussion at the last town council meeting. You should have, continue to have 7B, which details the fees that are being changed from the health department, from public works, and from zoning. Not only that, but we've had information, the health department provided a health department fee comparison. Brookfield and Southbury and Torrington. The Planning Commission approved their fees, and we don't have jurisdiction under the ordinance, so they set their own fees there. So that's not for us to approve. They've already approved those fee changes. And the zoning enforcement officer, Laura Regan, is on vacation, but she did provide a number of information that kind of details what the changes were. Those were adopted by the zoning commission, and those minutes were attached as well. And she also gave a comparison of other towns, Bethel, Brookfield, Danbury, Litchfield, and Ridgefield. And you can see these fee changes are all consistent with what's being charged in the surrounding towns. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. I mean, we could start with, Mike Crespin's here, so we might as well ask him to come up. There was a fee subcommittee as well. Greg, you did have meetings, and these fees were reviewed by the subcommittee and approved ultimately, right?
That is correct, Mayor. The fees committee was with me, Frank Borgo, and Ultimate.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Crespin, anything else to add that I kind of haven't hit on?
No, I think that table speaks for itself. I mean, I don't know if anything stood out that any of you had any questions on. So no, I mean, I don't have anything to add, really.
The fees are generally, within $50 increases, and I think that the last time they were updated was 2009, so we're 8 years ago. And fair to say that these are consistent with their surrounding towns as well?
Yeah, I think so. It's a little higher than some and lower than others. I mean, I think they're higher than Pomperog and Westport, and Pomperog, because sometimes the districts have to they rely more on their fees. That's just generally what I've noticed. And Westport, I don't know if that's a good comparison, because
right.
It's it is what it is.
We're not a big
Say no more.
hedge fund haven over here.
Exactly. Ms. Francis.
Mike, in your department overall, do you run at a deficit? I mean, do you feel you're self-sustaining on your fees? Let's talk about how they are now. Self-sustaining and running the department?
No.
You're in a
No,
deficit?
not even close. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, and I know it's different with other departments, but there's just been convention, I guess, is that health department fees don't try to sustain operations. The more they're an offset, and I think part of the reason is because a lot of this is fees to existing property owners, like with a repair of a septic system. So I don't think it's a disincentive if the fees are too high. And then for food service licenses,
that's the one I was looking at.
the food service licenses, I think the philosophy in my mind is that the food service business is a tough business anyway, and you don't want to have those fees be exorbitant. It just adds to the burden of running a food service operation. So
we've gone up, compared, I just use Newtown or Brookfield, say Newtown, they must be very low compared to others, but, when's the last time that we raised fees?
I believe it was 2007.
Okay, so then I just have one more question, the pool, we don't do pool inspection?
We do pool inspections. We haven't always done them.
Oh.
And I didn't want to start charging for pool inspections until I know it's the inspections we can sustain. In other words, do them consistently.
So you do them now?
We do them now, yes. We've been doing them.
How many would you say you do in a given year?
About a dozen between both New Milford and Washington.
In and above you do?
I'm sorry?
In ground and above?
No, these are just public pools.
Public pools?
Yeah, public pools
we have,
only.
how many of them? None?
About a dozen.
One? Okay.
It's roughly a dozen between
right.
New Milford and Washington. I mean, we approve pools that are being installed at residential
That's what I
settings.
meant.
They come to us for approval, but these fees are for public pool inspections.
Okay,
you know, there's all sorts of rules about safety.
But what if I put a pool in my home? You have to come and say it's okay.
There's a building permit that has to be issued
That
for
part.
a pool,
Once I
and
fill it up.
one of the sign-offs is the health department.
Okay, but that's before I fill it up.
Right.
So you make sure that it's watertight or whatever you.
We make sure that
Public
it has
health
a
and safety.
proper separation distance from septic systems and wells.
Okay, thanks.
in the pool?
Got it. Now that I know that there's no fee. There's no fee, so why not?
Okay. Any
If
other
we have to
questions
go
for Mike?
out on your pool inspection, that's covered under site inspection,
Right.
which
Ah.
would be a $75 fee we're proposing. It used to be a $50 fee. But sometimes,
Drop in the pool, so to speak, and the cost of the pool, right?
right, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Fair enough. All right, thank you, Mike. If there's no other questions, I appreciate it. Let's see, we got some other people up here as well. Like I said, Laura she's not here, but she did provide an outline, and it was presented to the zoning commission. The zoning commission did approve it as well. So hopefully what she's presented kind of has answered all the questions. Who else do we have here? Fire Marshal, why don't you come on up, Brian? I think some of those, are those going up too? I mean, I only have.
The only thing I changed was the blasting permit, which was state driven. That doubled from 30 to 60.
Okay.
Everything else was pretty.
But I think that was set by state statute, right? So that doesn't even need, our approval. So we just reflect that. We charge what the state charges.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not part of our ordinance. That's pretty straight. I mean, the only things that we're really changing in terms of our ordinance, I don't know, Kathy's back there. So, I mean, the planning commission also, like I said, they have their own separate jurisdiction, interestingly, so they could approve their own fees. But if anybody had any questions for Kathy on the plan, yeah.
No, I just had, first, under the section under fire hydrants, halon, dry chemical, CO2. Nobody does halon anymore, it's against the law, so that's out. And the FM 200 is one. So we really need to upgrade. I think that the last sentence, special extinguishing system and end agents. And I had a specific question. Let's talk about CO2. Let's say Kimberly Clark wants to put in a CO2 system, 5,000 square feet, and part of the room is going to be rated by area, and then the rest will be rated by volume. I don't know if you can figure that, but the point is, if you have to approve their drawings and you don't have the expertise, can you call in a consultant to make sure that it's designed?
Yeah, well, it has to be provided by a designed system.
Yeah,
so I can cross-reference.
But it's an engineered system, so.
And the state fire marshals have an engineering department that can
So
assist.
I guess the question is, if I came in with that system, and it's probably a $60,000 system, are you going to be able to do what you need to do for $250?
Yes, because the state fire marshal's office does not charge us.
Okay.
And we'll use their resources.
Okay, and you will send it up, right?
Yeah, or they'll come out here.
Unless it's FM approved, and if it's FM approved, it's...
Well, if there's a question, I can reach out to our resources.
I just want to make sure you're covered.
From the state when they come.
Okay, super. Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
And so the other one, so we got health department, like I said, the zoning department is there, and public works. So the only one that we've got on here, I know Mike is here tonight, but I'll give a little background, is we sign a lot of driveway permits, especially, from spring and the summer. And what we do in those driveway permits is actually pretty interesting. I mean, it requires 2 site visits. So a public works guy, they go out there initially and they take pictures and they kind of review the driveway. And then it's reviewed, the application is reviewed by engineering, usually Dan Stanton or somebody in the engineering department. And then it's signed off by myself and Dan. And then when it's complete, our public works crew goes back out there to ensure that, it meets the application's requirements. So we've got 2 site visits, we've got engineering review, and right now we're not charging for any of that. So I think what's being proposed by Public Works is very reasonable. It's $50 for a driveway repair in the right of way. Driveway reconstruction is $100, and a new driveway is $200. It's the work.
It came to my attention that it's not like the old days when you apply for a driveway permit, you go and look. Now all the water that comes down on your property has to stay on your property. So no more going down the driveway and out into the street drains. So that makes it a lot more complicated in as far as the drawings are concerned. And that's good for the town because we don't have residual runoff of oil into the storm sewer that goes out into the sound. I know that's becoming a big issue with waste management. So it's a lot more complicated than just the way it used to be.
The state is requiring us under the MS4 permits to regulate stormwater now also, not just point sources. So that's why it is important. And they do make changes. I see this, they'll slope it. The driveway guys know this now, but they'll either try to slope it into, the grass, or they'll create, some kind of rain garden or something like that. Mike, anything to reduce the stormwater runoff that ultimately winds up either in the river or in the lake. So it's a little bit more involved. So and like I said, we're not charging for it now. Mr. Chamberlain.
Question for Ms. Castagnetti?
Sure. Kathy, do you mind coming up?
Since we just were on the topic of driveways and driveway permits, living off Squash Hollow Road, I noticed that LaJoy's Auto Wreckers just did an extensive renovation of a driveway that goes straight down to Route 7, which is, of course, just 100 yards or so off the river. I was wondering if the town was involved in the approval, design, recognition, supervision, or anything else of that project.
I referred that to Jim Furlock, so I don't know exactly if he's been out there to look at it yet or what.
Kathy wouldn't know. I don't know, Mike, does that ring a bell if it came across Public Works?
It's on a state road, so Public Works wouldn't get involved. It would be DOT.
It would have been through the zoning part, though, would have been the site plan approval, would have been through zoning. So the permit would come from the state DOT.
I think Laura said it was a driveway repair, so it wasn't a zoning issue, but I think Wetlands was gonna look at it to see if he had any concerns.
Could you or at least communicate that to zoning and or Public Works and get a response as to whether we were actually involved, because if it was portrayed as a repair, or it clearly was a lot more than that. And obviously a driveway that runs directly out of a auto salvage facility almost to the banks of the river is a source of some concern. So if you could get an answer back, to what extent we as a town are involved in the oversight of that construction project.
Sure. Great. Any questions for Kathy about the fees that planning approved or anything like that? Okay, super. Thanks so much, Kathy. Oh, Ms. Francis.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, not for Kathy.
No, I guess this would be for you or for Mike. Let's go back to the driveway for a minute.
Sure.
When I was in planning, we definitely had a lot of talk about driveway and the number of visits, but as I recall, things were improved. Maybe Mike could address this, that they weren't going to have to go through so many back and forth and back and forth. My only reason for even bringing this up is because we're going from 0, I mean, it's 100%, you can't even say it because it was 0, but in $50 to repair something that's in the right of way, that has a little, but $100 or $200, I mean, if somebody needs to repair, let's not even talk about the new, let's talk about reconstruction. If someone resident needs to do that, I mean, there's a cost to what they're doing in the first place, because if they don't do it, that's even worse. I think that it's a little bit steep. And I guess I would ask the same question, are we looking at this as a way to add profit to our budget rather than just to sustain our department?
Well, I would hardly say it's adding profit.
Well, not.
I think it was represented, we're trying to cover our administrative costs basically and time to go out, and it is quite timely, frankly, to go out and do the inspections to make sure that they're done properly. I think Frank, talked about the MS4 amongst a variety of other damage that can occur to the right-of-way, particularly the roadways.
No, that one I do understand, I guess. So is 200, let me just say this, if I was gonna reconstruct my driveway, is $100 really going to cover the time that you or Dan or somebody has to come out? And I know you have to come back, and I know you have to come back again. Does it?
Yeah. Typically, new is 3 inspections. We're going to go out and look at it initially. We're looking at a sub-base. We're looking at a final completed project. So 3 inspections on a new driveway, 2 inspections on the other ones. Typically, we'll look at initially, or look at it once it's either in construction or complete, depending on what the project is.
But my recollection is there's more times than not, when you get there for the second inspection, it isn't what it ought to be. So they have to fix that, and then you have to come back. Then you have to come back. So I guess what I'm saying is this really a relevant fee to the cost that's involved?
I think when we talk about the ordinance changes, those issues are addressed in the ordinance itself, whereas if we get excessive problems, in other words, the contractors aren't complying with the plans, let's just say for the sake of argument, then we can assess additional fees to them for making us come back out for additional inspections.
To the contractor or the end user?
Well, it would be to the permit, whoever pulled the permit.
Which is the homeowner. Let's just talk
It can
about
be,
homeowner.
it may be the homeowner, it also may be the contractor.
If
A lot of times
big,
the contractor
right?
pulls the permit, and they're the ones generally responsible for complying with the permits. But yes, it can be a homeowner that does it and then hires a contractor afterwards.
What would you say the percentage of these driveways that you're doing these days, and it's been a while since we talked about this, but what would you say the percentage of the repair, we'll just group those two, reconstruction versus new, is?
More of them are repair.
More repair, right?
Much more repair, I think, nowadays than new, yes.
Thank
Oh, and I just try to give you some numbers. I believe we address some near 200 permits a year in our department. Mostly
for the repair and
for right of way, digging. Utility companies can dig in the right of way. They pull a permit from us. They're gonna, somebody's gonna repair a driveway, they pull a permit from us. Somebody's gonna install a new, they pull a permit. So we're addressing, I believe, somewhere near 200 permits annually.
Okay, so again, I'll just say then it doesn't really cover the cost of the time to get out there and inspect twice.
We compared it to surrounding towns, similarly to what many of the other departments have done, see what their fees are, and we've also tried to assemble, at least in a rough sense, what the time frame. We don't send a guy out just to go out to one drive. So we try to conglomerate them. Obviously, I think we try to make it efficient as we can for the residents and ourselves, so as to not waste their money or time, and certainly not waste our money or time. So we certainly try to do it that way when we can. Certain times there may be only a couple of permits going on, so we may not be able to do that. But there's other activities that he does go out and inspect as well beyond just permits.
Thanks.
Any questions? Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Sure.
All right. So that covers the 3 main issues involving the change of the ordinances and the fees.
I have a question about zoning. I know Laura's not here, but is there anybody here to talk about that?
I guess Kathy, you're the closest one to zoning. You get nominated. Do what you can.
Do we have any control over what fees they charge?
Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, they approved it, but that ultimately does have to be approved by the council, unlike planning.
So my main thought as I look at this, Kathy / Laura, is that, and I look at the revenue or whatever, I do see that zoning fees are paid by residents. I mean, I know some are paid by contractors, but I know from my time downstairs that a lot of these are paid by residents. And I look at some of these and I realize that 15 to 30 doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 100%. And if we're able to cover the cost of keeping the department running, aren't we just adding a little insult to injury to residents who are trying to do improvements? Because a lot of these focus on people trying to make an improvement to their home. I mean,
Keep in mind too, those fees there's a $60 state fee in addition. So if you want to put up a shed or a pool, it's $90.
Well, that's more insult to their injury. And I'm not saying that the way they were arrived at is incorrect or anything. I don't know. I wasn't sitting there, but I just see it as if we have a balanced budget, quote unquote, in our department where we really do affect residents. I just see this as, although individually, if you just look at it, you might say, oh, it's only 50, but it's only 50 plus all the other things if you're working on upgrading your home or repairing and, you know, trying to do it on an income where it matters. So I know you can't answer that, so I guess it's
Let me say
what I'm
something.
just saying is that if they're not running in a deficit for keeping the department going, and they're not, do we really need to, in this case, hurt the people that really have the least facility to pay more?
Why do you say that they don't have the least facility? I've seen some applications of like $1 million houses.
Well, good for them, but you
I know,
also
but-
see applications from people that every $30 means something in their budget, and if they want to stay in town, and it's not just this fee. If you were to do work on your home, and you know, maybe you wouldn't think it was a lot, but I deal with people where it would be a lot.
Sure,
And
and they can apply
everybody
to
wants
zoning
to
for that, right?
improve themselves and improve their environment. And
Sure.
I just see it that if we're not losing money running that department, why? Because another town has a higher fee. How does, I mean, really, what does that matter to me? What they charge?
Subcommittee, because
Yeah,
I think.
let's, how about Mr.
Well,
Bass,
there's
could you
somebody
answer
here.
that question?
Right, okay, that's true.
You were
Well,
on the
that's
committee.
what I would just like to.
Sure, that's a
hear.
fair point. So with the subcommittee, you know, looked at that, how did they deal with that issue?
Mr. Bass, can you answer that?
I'd love to answer that, Mary
Okay.
Jane. Thank you
Thank you.
Thank you for asking me. I did have concerns, and I still do have concerns. I have concerns of the impact of, you know, looking at the driveway permit going from 0 to 200. That was a concern of mine, and it's still a concern of mine.
Did you not
And then
approve it in your committee?
Is there a balance
Did
between?
you not approve it in your committee?
You asked me.
You're asking me questions, is it an interrogation or can you
Excuse
answer
me,
the question?
you're not being addressed.
Point of order.
One at a time, Mr. Bass.
So it's a very fine balancing act that we have to have. What is the needs of each department comparative to what the impact that would be on a homeowner or a business owner? I know that's something that the committee wrestles with, just like we're going to wrestle with here as council. And I do still have concerns with a lot of these fees and how they're going to impact an already stressed home.
Did you support this? And what about your other, Frank, you were on the committee too? Like, did you support this coming forward?
My concern was bringing this to council so that the council could fully vet it out. That's what we're doing today. And so each one of us has an individual vote, which we're all going to be doing today, and we're going to find out exactly what each has. I still have concerns about how much these are going in.
So how many of the meetings did you actually attend of the fees?
I attended a couple of meetings.
A couple, and how many did they have altogether?
I don't
Do you know, Greg, how many meetings did you have altogether?
There were 3 meetings.
3 meetings. And you were there for 2?
2 of the 3.
So what does that have to do with the fees here that we're charging the town of New Milford?
I just want to know if there was
Point
full participation.
order, please. Wait a second, guys, one at a time. So the purpose of the subcommittee was to make recommendations to get to this point. So, Mr. Wargo is the other member.
When you look at the fee increase, year one, you say, wow, that's a big increase. But don't forget, we don't change these fees that often. We haven't touched the fees in over 10 years. So whatever fee you put in now is going to be here 10 years. So it's not as big an impact as you would think. Would you want to change the fees every year? I don't think so.
No.
So I think you have to have a fair balance of what you're going to with the increases year one, and I understand, Katie, your concern, but we're looking at 10 years. And we don't know what requirements the state's going to require, et cetera, et cetera. So that might take more time for them to do these inspections that they're talking about. So in 10 years, it's probably a bargain.
Let me say one thing. So you were saying, like Public Works, this does not cover the cost of all the work that goes into these zoning applications. I mean, it's a little bit of a subsidy to take the burden off the taxpayer because the cost of running all of these departments goes up every year. The salaries go up, health insurance goes up, just the cost of doing business goes up. And I think after 10 years, we're kind of looking at it. It's a modest increase just to help because every dollar that is paid in these fees is a dollar that we don't have to take from our taxpayers at the end of the day. So what this does is try to achieve that balance. It doesn't fully fund the department, but it's a little bit so that that burden doesn't get spread to the taxpayer. You know.
But isn't the taxpayers are paying this? I mean, not the same, but I know what you're saying is that there's a lot of income and there's a lot of operational costs and it's hard to match them up. But when you're talking about things that have to do with businesses who want to improve or homeowners who want to improve their biggest asset, and let's face it, that's their structure, whether it's your candy store or your house. These are the types of fees. And Frank, I understand we don't do this every year, but can we put something in here to say that this is guaranteed to never go up in X amount of time? No, we've never done that. And so there's nothing to prevent. Historically, we haven't, but you know, I don't know that I'd hang my hat on it to hope that it didn't.
I think that a lot of the problem is with the smaller things, like somebody wants to do a small above ground pool or a small shed, it seems like a hefty fee. And the state tacking $60 onto a $30 permit.
Is it 60 across the board for that?
60 for every single one. So that's what makes it actually a lot more expensive. So that's why in 2006 we put it down to 15. We were going to have it be more at that point, but we said it's ridiculous for somebody putting a little structure. What Laura's going to hopefully propose to the zoning commission is that any structures less than 200 square feet do not need a permit. Like the building department does that now. So that would save a lot of the smaller things. It would help people then. So then they wouldn't have to
If that were to happen, that would include things such as sheds and lean-tos and
small things like that.
I see.
So that's what she's trying to do to just make it a little more palatable.
I think a 10 by 10 structure, portable structure, you won't need a permit. At least that's what they told me when I went in and asked.
Yeah, I kind of have to quote the zoning regulations.
Oh.
Well, that's a good idea. Right, I don't blame you.
And I imagine there's always hardship applications also that can be made if somebody can't afford a fee and it's got to be done. Zoning's got to control that as well.
That would be by ordinance, whatever the ordinance
Yes.
is. It could be waived.
And small structures being exempted or whatever, there's another side to that. That's a whole other story that we don't need to talk about tonight. But if you want to live next door to somebody who puts up a bunch of little 10 by 10 sheds all over the property, I don't think we'd like that.
You can only have one.
Exactly.
One 10 by 10 structure.
But you have to know about it in order for it to happen.
Well, that goes through with anything. You have to know about it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but it's a proliferation, it's a slippery slope.
We can get into the weeds on that later.
No, I don't want to talk about that now, but I just feel so, $15, how long was it $15? A long time.
Since 2006.
Yeah,
okay. Ms. Richardson, you had something to say?
These are just proportional. Obviously, the fee goes up to proportion of the cost. So when you guys were in your meetings, did you ever go through the numbers? How many people are applying for when their costs are at certain levels? So you know how many people are going to be impacted who are spending $0 to $2,500 compared to those that are spending $70. Yeah. I mean, do you know the numbers, or did you just come up with the amounts?
No, Greg came up with the amount, and I don't know about Pete. I looked at it and I said, that's fair. It wasn't outrageous. It was proportionate, like you said.
And like you see in the attachments, Laura had provided comparisons to other towns, and it's all comparable. You can see the most expensive declared cost from $750,000 to $1 million. I mean, the fee goes up $100. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, from $500 to $600. Okay, but pointing, yes, Mr. Bear.
I was on that committee too. I think the proposal right now is comparable, modest, and I'd like to call for a vote.
Second. Vote is called, fair enough. Okay, we have to vote on the vote to call the vote. Or does anybody object to just voting on it? Ms.
Are we
Francis?
voting on the whole?
Yeah, the
Is
whole.
it possible to take it apart?
No,
We don't have this.
The whole package.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the whole package.
So it's the zoning and the fire and the
The whole
health.
package.
It's the Public Works, Zoning, and Health Department are really the only ones that we're changing an ordinance on. Okay. So there's
Can I
a
have one
motion
more
and a
question?
second already. Yes, Ms.
We're still in
Francis?
discussion?
Yeah.
And under the health department, that includes the septic permits, correct?
That's right. Okay, so are we ready to vote? Okay, so we'll call a vote on the motion that was seconded for the recommendation of the fee committee and department heads to accept the updated town and Milford schedule of fees. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
3 nays. Okay, the motion carries. Item B, set a hearing date.
Motion to set a public hearing date of August 14th at 6:30 p.m. in the E. Paul Martin Room regarding the proposed revisions to the Milford Code of Ordinance, Chapter 60-5, Health Department Food Service Establishment Fees, Chapter 22-23, Health Department Water, Sewers, and Sewage Disposal Fees, Chapter 24-1, Zoning Department Zoning Permit Fees, and Chapter 18-72, Public Works Department Driveway Permit Fees.
Second. Oh. She did say,
I said August 14th, 6:30 p.m. in Paul Martin.
August 4th, our next meeting?
August 14th.
August 14th, 6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We gotta go backwards. So we messed up our schedule. Thank you, everybody, and all our department heads that were here for that. Very much appreciated. I think most of you could go. Mr. Bear, did you have something to say? Just raising your hand.
That was just.
Oh, just stretching? Okay.
Same old.
We do have the tax
Thank you.
assessor to discuss next, so I'll entertain a motion to go into
Motion
executive
to go
session.
into executive session, inviting Kathy Conway and John Tower.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Oh, you're gonna do this thing.
We're all here, back in open session. No motions, no votes were taken. Do we have to say anything? I think, John, we have to say anything about accepting your recommendation?
Motion
You can simply make a motion that the recommended number that was discussed in executive session is agreeable to the town council.
For both.
For both,
Yeah.
both matters, the
Yeah.
Still River and the Litchfield Crossing. Fair enough?
Yes.
And get a so moved?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For both. Still River and Litchfield Crossing. Thank you. Item 6, entertain a motion.
Motion for discussion of possible action on the request for the council to authorize Mayor David R. Brownback to join with the city of Waterbury and other Connecticut municipalities in opiate litigation against pharmaceutical companies for their alleged role in the opiate epidemic in our communities, and to sign such agreements, including a contingency fee agreement as necessary. Such litigation has also been filed in New York State. The litigation will be conducted on a contingency fee basis with the law firm of Simons, Hanley, Conroy, LLC, fronting all costs and being paid a percentage of the amount recovered. The town would not be responsible for any costs or fees, even if the litigation is unsuccessful.
Second.
Okay, so you see in your package under 6, the first thing, the memorandum kind of explains in general the litigation that's been instituted in other jurisdictions and which is being proposed here. 6A is the invitation to join that's being shared, and you can see it's got a copy of the complaints from Suffolk County, New York, as well as the backgrounds of this law firm. It's a national renowned law firm involved in a number of other high-profile litigation cases, class actions, and so forth. And then 6B is the draft contingency of fee agreements. It would be in substance the same thing, only instead of the city of Waterbury, it would be the town of Milford. Ms. Francis.
Is this agreement revoked for us? I assume you gave this to us because it'll be a mimic of what we see here. Can it be revoked at any time by the town? And
What
I'm
do you
not,
mean?
I'm not saying that there's any particular thing I'm thinking of that could happen unless some pharmaceutical company decided they wanted to come and build a big facility here, just saying. But is it revocable?
I would imagine if you revoke it, then you would be subject to their fees and costs.
Oh, that's what I was trying to scan this quickly to see if there was.
Yeah, I mean, you could terminate, a law firm at any time, but then you're gonna be responsible for the fees and costs that they've expended, based on the agreement that
Well,
we were
that's why I
signed.
was just curious, because
Yeah.
that's the one thing that came into my mind that could happen here.
In most contingent fee cases, you don't owe fees and costs until you get to the point in litigation where some money has actually been put on the table.
Oh.
If they make an offer and you balk at that point.
It's here.
Ah,
I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't look where I should have looked right at the beginning. It says, the agreement be terminated by the city, which could be us or them, in at least 10 days' notice. In the event of such termination, neither party shall have any further rights. Attorney shall have right in the nature of quantum merit to recover their fees, costs, and expenses reasonably at that time. So if it was, let's just say it was 4 years from now, their fees would be up.
But let me say something from a practical point of view. So this is litigation that's being proposed. The City of Waterbury is the lead, but between 20 and 30 other municipalities are going to sign on, and so they're not going to be like doing all this work for the town of New Milford.
No.
So, but to say that, so if we did withdraw, there wouldn't really be so much of a claim for fees and costs because they're going to be working with 30 other municipalities, and it's the same work.
It's just a habit I ask. Everything you get into, you should
Sure.
find out what it costs you to get out of it.
No, that's a good point, but the fact is that this is, I think the way it's being set up is be filed individually in the name of each towns and then consolidated into one large complex litigation. Mr. Ward.
Yeah, you said 20 or 30 other towns will participate. There's 169 towns in
I mean, that's just right now. I think it's going to be a lot more
I
than
was
that.
just to say, why would a town not
Yeah.
participate?
I'm saying conservatively, just from what I've seen on the listserv, and I know there was an article about Richfield in the paper. There's going to be, I have a feeling most towns will kind of
jump on it. I mean, that's my point. I mean, is this, John, I mean, is this going to be more symbolic for a town like us to show that we're fighting against this, or is there a likelihood that, litigation put on these guys, they're ever going to pay a dime?
Well, actually, according to the literature, they have gotten recoveries in this type of case that greatly exceed their fees. It's not like one of these class actions that just results in fees only.
Right, and they
absorb fees. It's not that. It's actually, there have been recoveries.
Opioid addiction costs towns a lot of money.
Sure.
So we have there's
a
a
lot of
vested
money.
interest.
Right.
We can claim that epidemic, if they can prove that it was caused by the drug companies like cigarettes. They buried all those memos that it was habitual in habit forming. They buried all that and it cost them. And they're doing the same thing with these drugs.
Well, that's the idea, Frank. The cost of the town, we need to fund, recovery, treatment services, support services for families, and education and awareness to discourage getting into the situation in the first place. And that's what happened with tobacco. We just can't afford to wait for the federal government or for the state to kind of do it for us.
No
and
cost will replace a life.
yeah.
It's down to.
And not only are they making money on the opioids, they're now making money on, if you're constipated, now they're providing the drugs for because opioids cause constipation.
Yes,
so I don't know
that's
if
the
you've seen the
latest
ads on TV, but they're making keep taking the drugs and you get constipated. We've got something for that, and then we've got something for this and for that, and they're making billions.
Okay,
So,
so I think we're ready.
I'm sensitive to, if a pharmaceutical company did come in and this was impacted by that, then that's something that the council would have to weigh the pros and cons.
Well, they might not be able to go other places. So
I don't think anywhere in Connecticut's going to be very friendly
no.
after this.
Into my mind.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Mr. Bass.
John?
Yeah.
This agreement meets your...
Yeah, I did review it, and the good news is that if they make no recovery, zero
Yes.
recovery,
Yeah.
then you owe nothing, including costs. So this law firm would have to front X dollars in costs and don't get to recoup it from the town.
I'm
So
sure
this
they don't even know in that
zero risk.
Right.
Feel pretty confident.
That's a huge upfront investment for what is potentially a large.
Yeah, months.
Mr. Wargo.
It's not appropriate for this motion, I think, but I would move that if we recover any money, that money be designated for the program of opiate, anything to do with opiates.
Right, recovery treatment.
I'm sure that would be
Recovery
a
treatment.
condition of any recovery also,
Oh, I'm sure.
returns to
It shouldn't,
municipality.
Many of us will still be alive when that happens, maybe you.
Similar
Substance
to
abuse
tobacco,
council.
yeah.
Okay.
That would be a great conversation to have, and hopefully we get to that point.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the start of it, and I think, you know, with the crisis that we're facing, this is a good start to start holding people that have profited off of this accountable. And like I said, we're not going to be alone in this. We've got, I think, every major municipality
I think
and
Danbury's
most of
already
the other ones. Yeah,
signed up.
Danbury,
Yeah.
Waterbury, Hartford. Most of them are going to join in with this, and
Right.
hopefully it sets a precedent, you know, nationally as well.
And this is better than saying we should have.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, we're suffering enough. So with that being said, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're skipping 7 because we've done that. We'll go right to 8.
Motion
Entertain a motion.
to approve the request to close a crossover adjacent to the bandstand on the town green to traffic prior to the Edwin Kincaid concert on the green on August 12, 2017. The request is for the road to be closed at 1 p.m. until the concerts are over, usually around 9:30 p.m., to also accommodate the New Milford Art Walk.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, they need more time to kind of set up and also accommodate the art walk, so it's a great thing. And I think we saw, you know, closing down, you know, streets, Bank Street being closed for the fair actually worked out really well.
work
So
very
it's
well, yeah.
something to consider instead of rushing, you know, cars through there and rushing setup. So, very good. Boardman Bridge.
Motion for discussion and possible action on the request for a transfer of funds from the unassigned fund balance of $12,025 to be transferred into the Boardman Bridge cash account 405-0000-10140. The $12,025 represents money that has been raised by donations for the preservation and rehabilitation of Boardman Bridge, and this action formally segregates those funds into the Boardman Bridge cash account.
Okay. I tried to make it as self-explanatory as possible, but he understands they've raised money, this is their money, it dropped to the unassigned fund balance because it wasn't carried in force. Having it here will keep it segregated in perpetuity until it's spent, and hopefully we can start moving with the rehabilitation of Boardman Bridge with this and other grants that we've applied for as well. And I'm glad we appointed the committee also to start working on that too. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.
Motion for discussion and possible action on the request for a disbursement of $1,500 from the Waste Management Fund or such account as the Finance Director deems appropriate to pay for the balance of the cost of repairs at the New Milford Skate Park. The estimated total cost of repairs and improvements is $9,880. The disbursement will supplement the $3,235 that was budgeted to repair cracks and chips at the State Park and $5,200 that has been raised from fundraising.
Second.
Okay. So, in case you're not familiar, I think most of us are, there was much more, this isn't for maintenance, there was concrete construction of additional ramps at the skate park that were just deemed simply unsafe. Right. So in order, we actually have to jackhammer that stuff away and replace it. So this is really a reconstruction, and we're using, you know, our maintenance budget to offset that. And then you'll see the next one, maybe I should have put that first. We'll accept a $5,200 donation from the individuals, and they are here today, that they did raise money to help with that reconstruction cost as well. Mr. Wargo.
Yeah, I have a question for John. If we go with the Waste Management Fund, the $1,500, do you think that's an appropriate use, according to the ordinance?
What I understand is that the actual work to be performed constitutes reconstruction, and it would be reconstruction just as we've seen the reconstruction of Lynn Deming or athletic fields or Pettibone Community Center as reconstruction.
Sure. Okay. Ms. Francis.
So this, and I know that they put these structures in there, so what are we gonna do about things like this that come about through, I mean, they thought they were doing the right thing, but no one said don't do it. And what I'm getting at is that when the next thing comes up that somebody decides to, well, we can just put this here, we can do that here, why didn't anybody see it? I guess.
I think Parks and Rec, when they did see it, they immediately closed it and started to remove the additions.
But it had been there a while. don't we have any, I guess, do we have inspection of our parks, some sort of schedule?
The Parks and Rec crews are down there when they're cutting the grass. They see it.
So
They're there. It's just a matter, it's
of
got to work its way up the chain. And these individuals, some of the individuals are here today also to kind of discuss
I mean,
how
they
it got
have
to
the
this
right
point.
idea, I don't fault them for, but I guess because no one said no, all I'm getting at is how do you fix that part of it? So they don't go to the.
I think they know now that,
No,
you
no,
know,
I
you
mean
can't
in
just
the
do
next
it.
You'd be taking the spirit away from the skateboarder,
Yeah.
which is a very free-spirited
I know.
environment, and people that are looking to expand their skating,
Well, I'm
their
glad they
skating
have
experience
spots.
with,
It's just
with
too bad.
skateboarding becoming an Olympic sport in 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe one of you guys can represent New Milford, but it's a very difficult when you're a
I know, it's
skateboarder and
just
that
hard
ramp
to
is only
spend all
so
the
high
money to do that, that's all.
and you've done those tricks, you want to make the ramp a little bit bigger. We did it as kids and
Sometimes it has to be publicized, and it takes something like this. And you know, the good thing about our parks and recreation, from Sago Meadows to various places, that people feel like it's theirs, and
Yeah.
so they feel like there's a sense of ownership in it. That goes too far when that ownership leads you to think that you could change it or make improvements or do something to it. But I think the message has gotten out there that there is a chain of command. If you
Yeah.
want to do something to improve a park or fix something, you go through the relevant department, and we're pretty open to it. Parks and
Yeah.
Rec, these guys, they want to expand things and make it good for the community.
It's wonderful they raised all their money.
Yeah, it was really great. Mr. Bass.
Thank you. Just kudos to Tristan and those guys for raising the money, and Park and Rec and the town for contributing. It's gonna be great to see those kids skateboarding down there.
Sure.
It's gonna be great.
Mr. Wargo.
Yeah, and my only concern is in the enthusiasm to do this, if one of those people who were involved in it got hurt,
Sure.
it's town liability. And if the structure that they put up caused somebody to get hurt and the insurance company says, whoa, you didn't approve this, we're not paying the insurance.
Yeah.
So liability is an issue, so it's a responsibility to the town and to the other people in town who might use the skate park, that it's safe. And by going through Park and Rec and having them look at it,
Yeah.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna use it, I might have gotten hurt.
Go for it, we'll come watch.
Yeah, but I've seen you down there.
And I was gonna go down there.
I've seen you down there, most of the time you have your pads on.
I do.
And just for the record, so just for the record also, Parks and Rec did review these plans. I was there when they actually made the presentation to Parks and Rec, and they've been working with this individual. Guys, what's his name again? Dave? Dave Peterson, is an expert in kind of constructing and reconstructing skate parks. So he came in here and designed it, and the guys are going to actually donate some of their labor also to keep the cost down, so that we can get much more out of it, and it'll work out. It'll be a better improvement over what it was in the past. So it's a good thing. It's just I think everybody realizes there's a process to it, and sometimes it's frustrating, but it's there for a reason, like Frank had said, because people can get hurt.
Call the vote.
Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you.
How long will it take to get it back the way?
Let's bring them
they
up.
use it?
Tristan, why don't you come on up and just kind of explain the situation and where we are and where we're going from here.
So as long as all the funds are in place here, then we're starting on Thursday. We need like 4 or 5 days to get it ready to have the concrete come in. And then as soon as we get the right weather situation where we have like 2 days, it's gonna be like mild temperatures, Dave's gonna come back and he's gonna pour all the concrete, and then it's just
Like you're
I think it's about 2 weeks till we can open the gate.
Till it hardens up.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Good job on raising the money.
Everything.
So the check.
No, he's got a check. No, he's got a check.
It's in the mail. I don't have a check. That's awesome.
Let's get right to the chase.
I'm talking about the money that I
He's
have.
got a check for us.
I don't have a check. I was like,
That's okay, no,
I was frantic trying to find a check. I couldn't find any in my house.
We'll just accept the donation tonight. You're going to be able to get a check at some point.
Yeah, I just didn't know where I bring it, when I bring it there.
You'll bring it to our finance office. So tonight we'll approve the acceptance of that money, and we'll put it towards the reconstruction of the skate park. just bring it in whenever you can, and it'll get squared away. You don't have to have it tonight. I don't
Thanks for
expect, you
donating.
don't need one of those big checks, you know, with the big thing.
I thought you guys were gonna just.
It's okay, you know, do it
That's great.
tomorrow or Wednesday. You know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We still have to approve that, though.
So did we do
We
motion
did
for
B,
me?
go ahead.
We did, yeah.
We didn't know, we
Oh, we did,
did.
okay, maybe we just jumped right into it, I'm sorry. So I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the request to accept a $5,200 donation from Tristan Cornells and other individuals to fund the repair and improvements of the Milford Skate Park to be deposited in the Park and Rec gift account.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, very good. Thank you. With that, I entertain a
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.